faster and more intense. That was his main direction. He just wanted us to speed through it.
George is notorious for saying, after a take, do it again, faster, more intensity. He certainly said to me, was, terrific tonic, and he'd do it again faster. But that's it, I didn't get more intensity. I don't think 3PO with more intensity would be bearable, do you?
Alright, well, hello everyone, and welcome to Faster and More Intense. I'm your host, Shiloh Camrath, and with me is my co-host, as he is always, Mr. George Costel.
Howdy, folks. How are ya?
You're now Mr. George Costel. I'm giving you proper respect.
That's exciting. I'm excited. I'm happy to be part of this endeavor.
George Costel, by the will of the... by the authority of the Council, by the will of the Force, please rise, or something like that.
That was pretty good.
Yeah, well, I just watched the episode a few minutes ago, so
well, there you
I
go.
cheated. And if you are wondering what that episode is, I doubt you are, because if you're listening to the show, you've probably already seen that episode several times. That would be the latest episode of Rebels, Cloak of Darkness, or did I just insert a Clone Wars episode?
Cloak of Darkness.
Shroud of Darkness. Yes. The Cloth of Darkness. The head covering of darkness. I ran out of words for...
Blanket, maybe.
The blanket of dark.
The pillow fort
the snuggie of darkness. Yeah.
We have fun here.
Grandma's handmade quilt of darkness. Yeah, that sounds so scary. Yes, and not only that, but we're also going to be discussing today the latest issue of Darth Vader, which is issue 17, I think?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 17. All right, but before we get into that, I guess we should probably go over any news that happened this week. Now, I did not pay attention at all, so I really don't know if any news came out. I mean, episode 8 could have, hit theaters and I wouldn't know. But, yeah.
So probably the biggest bit of news is we got details on the Force Awakens home video release. It'll be coming out on a Blu-ray combo pack and DVD on April 5th. So just over a month away. At least where I am, it is still actually in theaters.
It is?
Yeah, not many. Only the really big ones, but it's still kicking. I might have have one last viewing before it finally leaves.
Nah, don't do it. How many times have you seen it already?
I've only seen it 3 times.
Oh, okay.
They were all in the first week of release, so it's actually been a while.
Yeah. I've only seen it 3 times, and my last one was at New Year's.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, if I get John to take me, I get to go for free. So, but anyway, the combo pack's coming out. They gave us some info on the bonus material. There's no full commentary, which is disappointing to some, I know. But there's Secrets of the Force Awakens, A Cinematic Journey, which is like a documentary behind the making of it, with interviews and behind-the-scenes footage. Should be pretty cool. The Story Awakens, the table read, which is going to be the cast reflecting on the day where they first all came together to read the script. Mark Hamill, I'm sure, is going to be a riot there. He had so much to do.
Yeah.
Building BB-8, see how the filmmakers brought the newest droid to screen, creating an instant fan favorite. Crafting creatures, Blueprint of a Battle, the Snow Fight, which is the going deeper into the lightsaber duel between Rey and Kylo Ren. There'll be a John Williams piece about the making of the soundtrack. ILM will have a little piece. There'll be a piece about Force for Change, which is nice. And there will be deleted scenes, which StarWars.com didn't list, but have been listed elsewhere as Finn the Villager, Jakku Message, X-Wings Prepare for Lightspeed, Kylo Searches the Falcon, Snowspeeder Chase, and Finn Will Be Fine, which roughly sync up
with...
That's it? Yeah, I mean, there's definitely other stuff, but I mean, that Snowspeeder Chase could be a pretty extended scene, I think.
Yeah.
We knew there wasn't a full director's cut coming. They generally only do deleted scenes, and who knows, maybe we'll get some more when they do a full box set for the sequel trilogy. I mean,
from what I heard though, there was a lot more of that film that was cut than just those couple deleted scenes. I mean,
well, that's 6 deleted scenes. Let's be fair.
Well,
oh. And there's another thing is how many are deleted scenes versus alternate scenes.
Yeah.
So, I think this is roughly in line with what we've been getting for our other home releases. Obviously, the Blu-ray releases had more when they first did that. But that was kind of a big deal. Those had some scenes released for the first time from, I think, all the movies. So they tend not to release everything at once. Then beyond that, what might be exciting to some is retailer exclusive editions of the movie. They'll all come with some bonuses. And it looks like Target is the only one that's going to have a content bonus that's going to come. They all have exclusive packaging. And that'll have 20 extra minutes of bonus content, including never-before-seen interviews with Daisy Ridley and John Boyega, and a deeper look at the movie's costumes and weaponry. That one's kind of based off all the character posters they did. You're looking at it now. Walmart has BB-8 packaging, as you can see here. And it comes with an exclusive Star Wars Galactic Connections trading disc. Then all Best Buy has going for is the packaging, but if you can't tell looking at it now, it's got Kylo Ren and Phasma on it. It's a steelbook, so, not plastic, actually metal, much nicer case. So that's kind of cool. And then StarWars.com didn't list it, but from what I've heard, if you pre-order from the Disney store, you get some lithographs. So that's fun.
I mean, I don't know. I can see some people, I can understand why they'd pay for all these different variants, but I'll
admit, I was a sucker. I bought 2 copies of Revenge of the Sith on DVD to get the exclusives. Here, I'm leaning right now towards Best Buy or Target. We'll see. I could swing either way. But then in other news, we got some more information on the first Star Wars Battlefront downloadable content pack.
Wait, the first? I thought there was
well,
already
not
the
counting
first
Battle of Jakku, the first paid
not
DLC.
Okay.
The Outer Rim one that's about Sullust, some factory maps there, and it has Jabba's palace.
That'd be fun.
Tatooine. Yeah.
I can see Jabba's palace having just a million little Easter eggs in it.
I would hope so. They announced the hero and villain that are coming with this pack. And basically everyone I know was really perplexed by their choices.
Okay, let me try to guess them.
Okay.
Heroes and villains. Okay.
One each.
Alright, so the hero is gonna be Lando Calrissian.
No.
Oh, wow. Chewbacca.
No.
What? It's going to be Nien Nub.
Yes.
What?
Yeah.
Wait. You're joking, right?
No, it is Nien freaking Nub.
What?
And I'm like, I thought, correct me if I'm wrong, weren't they doing 2 heroes and 2 villains? That's what they said they were going to add.
I don't know. But wait,
now, it
Nien
could
Nub?
be that it was 4 heroes and 4 villains, and I read it wrong. They're not 4 total, but 4 of each. But if it is, that means one of those 2 heroes is Nien Nub, which means you are guaranteed to not be getting, out of the 3 following characters, Lando, Old Man Obi-Wan, and Chewbacca, you're only getting one of them.
I never even thought
tops.
about Old Man Obi-Wan, but that would be awesome.
I think Old Man Obi-Wan will come on the Death Star DLC. I'm calling that now.
Yeah. Nien Nub?
Nien Nub.
I mean, but we already have a little Nien Nubs running around.
Yeah, you already have a Celestian, but now he's got the
DL-44s.
actual Nien Nub costume. And he better have an amazing freaking playset. Like, really play darn cool, or people are going to be annoyed.
Well, yeah, but I mean, what is even going to be so special about him? I mean, we saw him for like 2 seconds on screen.
Look,
he didn't have any special characteristics.
Well, that's not. He's been in 2 movies now.
Well, okay, all right. But what I'm saying is that we never even saw him fight. We never saw him do anything.
You never see him fight, but I mean, according to Twilight Company, he got down and dirty. Now, Nien Nub has been treated really well by the new canon. with Twilight Company, appearance in The Force Awakens. He's been in the comics. He's going to be showing up in Poe Dameron. He's already shown up in Leia. Like, Nien Nunb has got it made. Nien Nunb has more new canon appearances than Veers, and that really pisses me off.
Does he have more than Black Cranston? Because Black Cranston also seems to be the favorite from...
Well,
but I guess that's mainly just
Black
the comics,
Cranston just has only been shown... Yeah, exactly. He's only shown up in comics. Nien Nunb has maybe not as many appearances, but they've been in more varied media and perhaps are more substantial.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Force Awakens is pretty substantial.
Exactly.
And getting a hero. Okay. All right. The villain side is going to be
yeah, not too many villains they can
It's going to
draw
be an
from
Imperial
here,
officer,
really.
right?
No, I actually cannot imagine them doing an Imperial officer. I just don't imagine the playstyle being interesting. As much as I'd love to see like a vehicular Veers hero, my thought going in was that the only heroes they could do would be the bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, so is it one of them?
No.
Oh, okay. Wow, this is a hard guess here. Because I mean, thinking about the Star Wars as a whole, there's tons of villains that would be great, but just original trilogy, which seems to be what they're doing here.
That is 100% what they're doing.
Yeah, which is irritating, but that is a completely different conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. Okay, I give up.
It is Greedo.
What?
Yep. Nien Nunb and Greedo.
Well, at least that makes more sense than Nien Nunb.
Does it?
Well, at least Nien Nunb survived. I mean, Nien Nunb helped blow up the Death Star. Greedo just got, fried in his chair. And if you even think back to the Clone Wars, he got beat up by a senator. Yeah, that's kind of low.
Lucas's intention for Greedo was that he was a completely failed bounty hunter that probably, never actually even left Tatooine.
Yeah.
And that
he failed in the Clone Wars, so that works.
I like the idea of him as a schmuck. I don't like him being confined to Tatooine.
Wow.
But who wants to play as Greedo? Especially, again, you already have a Rhodian model, even if it's just for the Rebels. You know?
Yeah.
It's a weird choice. And if, again, I could be wrong, but if they're only doing 2 of each, that means that obviously you are never going to get all the bounty hunters from Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
But
So, is the new game mode going to be 4 versus 4 then?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you.
Or is it just going to rotate?
I don't know.
Huh. Wow.
Yeah, there's more detail. You'll obviously be looking at Nien Nunb and Greedo now. We'll work in some pictures of the various maps they've released. The maps look kind of fun.
Well, they've done pretty good with the map so far.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Here's the thing. For me, this strikes me as a major misfire on their part, because the game was regarded as having too little content. And so, with $50 worth of DLC that they're trying to sell you, you need to knock your first one out of the park. And instead, it's just new maps on planets that are already in the game. And so no matter how cool those new maps are, people will be a little disappointed. And then, your chance to bring in really cool new heroes, you instead go with Greedo and Nien Nunb.
Yeah. And I don't know. I kind of think that there might, unless they move into The Force Awakens, which I think they're going to.
They are not. They've said they're not. Lucasfilm won't let them.
They're going to exhaust the original trilogy very quickly.
They
because look at this already. They're Nien Nunb and Greedo.
Well, but here's the thing. If they only need to add, 3 new... Even if you say they need to add 3 new ones after Greedo, like you said, Lando, Chewie, Obi-Wan, IG-88, Bosk, Dengar, Forlom, Zuckuss, you have options. Yeah, I just don't get Nien Nunb and Greedo. They had to knock this one out of the park. I don't think they did. So that's a pity, I think. Yeah.
Well, one thing that could bring me over to Greedo's side is if one of his special things is that he throws a thermal imploder. I could get behind that.
Good luck. I'm anticipating him having an ability called Shoot First.
Oh. That's good. That is very good. All
Yeah,
right.
we'll
Well,
see.
anything else here before we move on to Rebels?
Those were my two big pieces of news. On the personal side, I finally got my Old Man Han Solo action figure, Black Series, going on Amazon for retail. Hype is real.
Nice. Retail, that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, wow. Retail. Wow, you're kicking ass, buddy. But yeah, it's been a struggle to do. I finally have him. I'm happy. But in terms of actual news, I got nothing.
And me, you know me, I watched Rebels this week, so I fulfilled my Star Wars quota. All right. Well, speaking of Rebels, let's talk about Rebels now. This episode was number something or another.
I think it was either 16 or 18, depending on how you count Siege of Lothal, I believe.
Okay, well, number isn't important, I guess. It was The Shroud of Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
That was the title, and with a title like that, how can it not be good? And, well, I gotta say, last week, I think I said something to the extent that this episode is one of my favorites, if not my favorite of Rebels.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to have to update that opinion because this is a hands-down favorite.
Yeah, I really liked it. But here's the thing. I don't know if I'd call it my favorite. Because it was a lot of fun. We saw so many different people. They brought in so much. That was really cool. But I felt like even if the plot moved a little bit forward, and I would say it didn't move, like the plot movement forward wasn't as huge as, say, Callus's character movement forward was last week. And I thought that evolving Callus's character was something they really needed to do. So I still give the edge to the honorable ones, but I fully acknowledge very, very solid episode of Rebels right here.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, I gotta say, one thing that I really, really liked about this episode is that at no point during this episode could I say, oh, well, that's classic Rebels combat. I've had a lot of issues with, fighting in this show, how easy it is for the Rebels to escape or how incompetent these guys. In this episode, now, granted, there wasn't a whole lot of fighting in it, but I'm saying nothing in this episode was just so, cheesy that I had to write it off as being, Rebels or a kid's show. There was nothing. I mean, everything was just as, I would imagine it to be in the Star Wars universe. I mean, it went incredibly well.
Yeah, I mean, let's just start at the start of the episode. I thought this was great. It opens in the middle of a fight with the Inquisitors. Ezra and Kanan. And you can tell Ezra and Kanan working great as a team.
Oh, yeah.
Pulling off all these fancy maneuvers. There's some nice smack talk between the different Inquisitors and Kanan and Ezra, which I thought was a lot of fun. And then, it looks like the Rebels are legitimately on the ropes until I thought this was a really good deployment of Ezra's, burgeoning powers with regards to, just empathy towards animals. As you can see here, he summons this giant flying beast that looked kind of similar to stuff that Macquarie did, but I couldn't exactly place. But anyway, he uses the Force, he summons that, and he and Kanan escape on the back of this thing. And I'm like, well, the Inquisitors definitely would not have seen that coming. But it didn't feel cheap. And I'm like, yeah, this is a natural evolution of what they've been doing with Ezra for the last few weeks. This is pretty on point.
Yeah, I mean, it was excellent. I remember back when we had the Space Whales episode, and we were talking about how we don't want it to get to where Ezra is like Superman when it comes to animals. Like his power is just incredible. And I don't think it was. I mean, they played it very well. They showed that he has this power, but it wasn't like totally overpowered. And I mean, it worked really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that animal, was from the when they went and attacked that citadel in the season 1, or was it season 2, Rise of the Old Masters. I believe these were the animals that were trying to mate with Hera's ship.
Right, yeah, that was from season 1, right? With their first big run-in with the Grand Inquisitor, no?
Yeah.
Yeah, now I remember that. Good episode. You might be right, they definitely did remind me of that. So either way, fun stuff. One of the things that I did find kind of amusing was that you can see here Kanan and Ezra are, chatting on the Phantom after they're running with the Inquisitors. And they're like, man, the secret base isn't working. These Inquisitors are following us everywhere. They're such a problem. And I'm just like, really? They are?
Yeah.
I don't know. You guys seem to have it pretty well in hand most of the time. I don't know.
Yeah, I think Kanan even says something to the fact that it's irritating or something like that. It's not like, this is like a life-threatening danger, we're all going to die. He's like, because it's really starting to get irritating, or it was really starting, it was something, it was a word like that wasn't like...
These Inquisitors, pain in the butt, am I right?
Exactly. Yeah. But, Ezra, like, he's coming off a high right now. He's like, oh yeah, see, I used the Force to move these animals, we beat the Inquisitors, what's not to love? And, and again, Kanan is showing his growth, he's kind of seeing the big picture. But definitely, they worked so well together, and Ezra is growing in his combat skills as well, which is a plot point I will touch on in just a moment. I really liked how well he did against the Inquisitors. And they still gave us the feeling that the Inquisitors probably still have an upper hand here.
Yeah.
Just that the rebels had to escape. Really good fight sequence.
Yeah, definitely. And so then they kind of, moving from that, they kind of agree that, we should talk to Ahsoka and figure out how to dodge these guys. And that, I think, brings us to our first appearance of Anakin this episode, which you're looking at now, where she's like kind of looking at a holocron that Anakin recorded, where he's actually talking about the forms of lightsaber combat, which lets Ezra acknowledge, oh man, this guy, great fighter. Also just, I mean, that felt a little bit fan servicey, but it also does a good job setting up his second appearance in the episode, which we'll talk about later.
Well, like I just said, Ezra, he says, I've been studying his lightsaber. So, I mean, it makes kind of sense that if Ezra's better in the lightsaber, who better to teach him than, a holocron, a recordings of Anakin, who is an excellent lightsaber, fighter.
Duelist. But yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I didn't love Anakin's costume in this. I
actually liked it.
I get that they have to mix it up. I don't know. The big Jedi logo on it felt kind of goofy.
Yeah, I'm looking at that now, and I didn't notice that before, but it does look a little goofy now that you mention it.
I mean, it was. I don't mind like a form-fitting, more utilitarian, non-robes outfit. Because I think they said like basically all the money for flowing capes and stuff went to Vader's cape, so they have to be form-fitting outfits. Which I'm like, fine, whatever, I don't care that much. But that felt a little, goofy-ish to me. But it was still fun. And then, I think in that same scene, Ahsoka lets on that she saw him, like, right at the events of Revenge of the Sith.
That blows
quite the
my
plot
mind.
Twist.
Yeah. Which does kind of make sense because, we talked last episode about Cody saying I fought with Commander Tano, till the siege of Mandalore, So if, I said Cody, didn't I? If Rex had contact with her up until this siege of Mandalore, and Anakin had contact with her up until the Battle of Coruscant, it does beg the question that she kind of stuck around, or at least called every weekend to say hi. As opposed to just going off into the stars like I kind of imagined.
Yeah, no, I thought that was good. She's not a Jedi, but she still wants to help is kind of what I was getting from that. So I think that's really cool. But, after they talk with Ahsoka, they say like, hey, Ahsoka, we need advice. And Ahsoka's like, well, whenever I was in this situation, I asked for advice from Obi-Wan or Yoda. So they just kind of keep on going up the advice chain of command, which inspires them to return to the Jedi Temple on Lothal, where after Kanan and Ezra work together to bring it out of the dirt, without Ahsoka's help, she's like, I'm not a Jedi. She was being very uppity and aloof about it.
Yeah, that was strange because it was kind of strange because you obviously don't need to be a Jedi to open up the temple.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because the Inquisitors did it, for crying out loud. And, you know, that's about as far from Jedi as you can get. So she obviously could have done it. So, yeah, it was kind of interesting why she just spurns all contact with it. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that'll be something that's explored a little more. Because in a lot of other ways, she still behaves very much like a Jedi. She, starts meditating. Well, I think when we first see her, she's kind of meditating, looking at Anakin's holocron. But she starts meditating with Kanan, Ezra, and herself, I guess.
Yeah.
As you can see here, before they all kind of go their separate, different, vision-y ways. And I guess that is as good a reason as any for us to start talking about all those different visions we saw.
Oh, wow. All right. Well, let's start with Kanan.
Yep.
Okay, so Kanan sees a door where there is no door. And so Kanan, being Kanan, walks towards that door. And then he disappears through that door. And then Ezra's like, what happened to Kanan? And Ahsoka's like, oh, these temples are mysterious. Well, and the way she says it also kind of does it a little frustration, or frustration's not the right word, but maybe irritation at the way that the Jedi operated or something.
Perhaps.
The way she kind of said, these temples can be tricky or something like that. That's not the word I would use if you really had reverence for one of these temples,
I see where you're coming from. I'm not sure I fully agree, but there's definitely the case to be made. I mean, she's not wrong, though. Like, Kanan just goes off and disappears, then Ezra off and disappears. But yeah, they intercut all these different visions. And did you watch Rebels Recon?
No, I forgot.
Well, that's too bad, because essentially what they kind of confirm there is that all these visions, at least Kanan's vision and Ezra's vision, are done through the will, essentially, of Yoda.
Okay, good, because I had hoped that they weren't something else. Okay.
Yes.
I like that.
So it's kind of Yoda responsible for all these visions. Because in Kanan's vision, this is where we run into those temple guards that we saw in the Season 2 trailer. And, it's funny, because in the clip released last week, Kanan meets this temple guard, and he's like, you're a temple guard. The temple guard's like, your apprentice is going to go evil. Let me kill him. And they start fighting, and I'm like, well, this feels a little contrived, I suppose. But obviously, just a vision, so that makes a little more sense.
Yeah.
And then, man, what a twist on the identity of that temple guard.
Yes. But we're following the show here. We cut to the Inquisitors showing up.
Yes.
So they show up, and they kind of scout around the place. She sends one of her droids up to kind of scan the building, and so the photo I grabbed here is of her looking at the scan, and I thought this was interesting because that's what the temple looks like from the inside, which is interesting. It looks like there's quite a few layers to that temple, actually. It's not just one circular room.
Well, we knew there were at least 2 layers.
Yeah.
So yeah, I see what you mean. Definitely a pretty deep building, which is fun, I guess.
Yeah. But after that, Ezra is meditating with Ahsoka, and then Ezra just kind of disappears, and he returns to that area in which he had first talked to Yoda, where he hadn't seen Yoda. So when Yoda shows up, and Ezra remarks that he can see Yoda this time, Yoda tells him that it's because Ezra has grown stronger in the Force, and that's why he can see him, which I found really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it also made sense. Deeper connection to the Force, you're just going to be more apt to, get these full visions. I liked that. I thought it made sense. It was really cool to actually see Yoda as opposed to just hear him. But I'm going to ask, what did you think of Yoda's model?
Well, I'm looking at that picture now here. I actually... The only thing I have an issue with is his hair.
I feel that. Yeah, I get that.
His hair doesn't... I think it's... Is it too high? Is it too much of a sideburn? Is there too much of it, maybe? I'm not sure what. But that was really the only thing that I didn't care for on his model. Everything else looked pretty good to me.
Yeah, I mean, it's like... It's way less, I want to say, stylized than the Clone Wars. Because the Clone Wars, I think, took a lot of really big liberties with his character model. Like, he had a huge head, big eyes, in a way that this model doesn't have. I don't know. I see where you're coming from. I don't know if it's like Uncanny Valley for me, which is like a little too close to the actual Yoda puppet, where it feels weird in a way that Clone Wars Yoda didn't. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I love it, but at the same time, I recognize it's pretty good representation of Yoda from the movies.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, basically Ezra and Yoda kind of have a conversation about fighting, and Yoda kind of basically just repeats the line that we've heard before about it's not whether you win or lose, it's how you play the game, kind of. It really all depends on the heart and what you are trying to accomplish with fighting.
Yeah.
But you can definitely tell Yoda has been jaded towards fighting a little bit, which is quite understandable, seeing as how he single-handedly lost the galaxy. That may be a bit harsh.
Yeah, I would say single-handed.
Yeah. But, I mean, he was the head of the order that was supposed to preserve the galaxy, and so a lot of the responsibility does fall on him.
Yeah, and you have to imagine, I mean, and Ahsoka talks earlier about how he always felt like he was carrying a weight towards the end of the Clone Wars. You have to imagine that weight has only grown heavier.
And I gotta say, Yoda is a whole lot busier than I had imagined him to be between Episode 3 and Episode 5. Yoda is one busy little green man. If he's reaching out to this group, I would imagine he's trying to reach out to others. So, along with communing with Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, I think
certainly Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan he's talking to. Who knows how many other Jedi are out there and active at this point?
Yeah. And I really like how he kind of appears on a log, as almost if he set up a video cam. Yeah. He set up a video cam in the bog and is just sitting there, It's really interesting if you kind of picture what he's doing on Dagobah. He's sitting there on a log in Dagobah, creating all this through the Force, which is really quite interesting.
That's Yoda for you.
Yeah, that's Yoda.
And then I guess, should we go now to Ahsoka's vision?
Yes, we should.
Ahsoka is the only person who doesn't actually go anywhere when she's having her vision. And it marks the second return of Matt Lanter as Anakin. We get a nice, bigger look at Anakin's model, as you see here, and you can more obviously agree with me that it's kind of dumb looking.
The symbol does kind of look funny now.
Yeah. But they start chatting, and then I guess again I assume this vision is also facilitated by Yoda, which would make sense because as Anakin is talking to Ahsoka, he turns into Darth Vader.
Yeah.
And essentially, it's kind of confirmed for Ahsoka what I think we all kind of suspect she suspected.
Yeah.
And so she now knows that Darth Vader is her old master, and that's gonna kind of suck, I'd assume.
More than suck, I think it's heartbreaking. Man. That was a very well done scene, and Kevin Kiner did a wonderful job on the music, as always. Loved the touch of violin there, which we have heard on another extremely sad scene that involved Ahsoka. Yeah, so I like the callback to that. But what did you think about what he said to her?
It was along the lines of, "This is your fault, no?" And I watched the episode a few days ago. It's not fresh.
Okay, well, basically what he said was he
calls her
started talking about why Ahsoka abandoned him when he needed her most.
Mm-hmm.
Why she walked away when he needed her, which does also beg the question, I mean, would he have gone to the dark side if Ahsoka had been there? Because she did, throughout the Clone Wars, kind of act as a check and a balance to what he did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, there were many areas where I think he would have chopped somebody's head off had Ahsoka not been standing in the room. So I think it's perfectly logical to assume that Ahsoka does carry a fair bit of burden of guilt for what happened to him.
At least she must now, you're right. And I mean, here's the question, you know, right now, you know, we have this episode, Twilight of the Apprentice, coming up. And there's, you know, 3 or 4 different apprentices that could mean for the finale. You know, could be Maul, could be Vader, could be Ahsoka, could be Ezra.
Oh, wow, that is a lot of them.
Yeah. But, you know, a lot of people were thinking, you know, this could be the end of Ahsoka. It could be Vader kills her. And I think that's a possibility. But do you think, kind of to your earlier point, that, you know, in Revenge of the Sith, if he still had Ahsoka as his Padawan, even, you know, I guess they met, you know, but if he had to go to the Jedi Temple knowing she was there and that he would have to kill her, do you actually think he could have gone through with that?
Wow. I really don't know. I think it's fair to assume this premise that the people that he cares about most in this world is probably Padme, Ahsoka, and then Obi-Wan, I would say.
Yeah.
So he was willing to kill Obi-Wan.
Mm-hmm.
So we can scratch his name off the list.
It wasn't like an immediate, like, I'm going to kill you. It's like, leave me be, get out of here.
Yeah, so, I mean, wow, I really don't know. Wow. He was definitely in a, I don't think really the events of Episode 3 that Anakin did would have happened if he had slept on it. I think a lot of the stuff he did was in the heat of the moment. So, and Ahsoka always acted as kind of that. So I want to go back further and say, would he have gone to the temple without Ahsoka to try to kill the Emperor? And say Ahsoka went with him, how would that scene have played out differently?
That's a good question.
And that's where I think that Ahsoka would have acted as a check and balance to what he did.
Mm-hmm.
I think probably once he killed.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, though.
What'd you say?
Doesn't she say that the last time she saw him, he was on his way to arrest Palpatine?
No, he was on his way to rescue Palpatine. Battle of Coruscant. So he saw her before he hopped in the fighter and flew up to rescue Palpatine.
Okay. Well,
so, man.
Those are the sort of questions that'll keep you up at night.
Yes, we will. But yeah, so after this, she has kind of a very emotional scene of crying and violin, which lasted, I gotta say, a few seconds shorter than I really wished it would have.
I feel you.
It cut out there kind of quick. Another 2 seconds would have been really nice, I think, with that violin.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Maybe even hearing a single sobbing, that would have been good.
Yeah.
But oh well.
But
it was pretty good overall, though.
And so after that, the Inquisitors kind of try to force their way into the temple, and I think, you know, they kind of recognize the temple is starting to fall apart. So the Visions have to start wrapping themselves up. And so, you know, I forget the exact timeline of Kanan's vision. But eventually he actually stops fighting the temple guards, and that's when he gets knighted.
Yep.
Which, you know, we kind of alluded to earlier. But then the big plot twist is the person behind that temple guard mask is revealed to be the Grand Inquisitor.
Yes. Who says that he was once a Jedi, which I want to go back and watch season 1 again, and those episodes with the Inquisitor, to see if that'll change anything. But that was definitely an interesting piece of information.
And it's not exactly surprising. If you think about how old the Inquisitor was, he would have had to be alive during the events of the Clone Wars.
Possibly even another youngling like Kanan.
I think he's older than that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Kanan's in probably his 20s now, maybe pushing 30. And I definitely think the Inquisitor was in his later 30s or 40s. That's just my thought. I don't have any concrete proof on that right now. But I mean, certainly in the EU Legends, the Inquisitorius drew from a Jedi who didn't want to die.
Which makes sense.
Chummy with Palpatine. Yeah, exactly. And so, yeah, I thought it was cool. Like, who'd have called that we'd be getting, character building for the Grand Inquisitor in Season 2?
Yeah. I would not have... I thought he was dead and gone, but I am glad. And you know what? I'm going to say this before anyone else does. I hope that we get a Grand Inquisitor in Jedi Temple Guard regalia action figure.
Yeah. Well, they already have the... Well, I was going to say they already have the Temple Guard figure, but I think that was like the robed Temple Guard.
Yeah, it's not the same.
So this probably would require a new sculpt. They better do like a freaking head swap option or something. But yeah, that'd be pretty darn cool. I would want to see that. I would buy that if I ever found it, which I probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
But that's okay. So yeah, that happens. And then over in Ezra's vision with Yoda, as it wraps up, Yoda tells Ezra to go to Malachor, which is interesting for a few reasons. The first of them being, Malachor is again another nod to the love of Knights of the Old Republic found on the Rebels staff, because Malachor was a major place and a plot point, really, of the second Knights of the Old Republic game.
Oh wow! So Henry wrote his weekly Rebels review, and in that he said that he poured through all of his knowledge of Star Wars and could not find Malachor. So
Henry then just did not try very hard, because not only was Malachor referenced there, it was just referenced in the visual dictionary for The Force Awakens.
What?
Where
the one we did?
Right. Where, if you recall, the design for Kylo Ren's lightsaber was said to go back to the Scourge of Malachor.
Whoa.
And so I'm calling it now that reference in the TFA visual dictionary was not a nod to Knights of the Old Republic directly, but rather foreshadowing the appearance of the crossguard lightsaber that will be found probably on Malachor in Rebels.
Wow. Okay. Wow, that was dramatic, but yikes. Yeah. All right. Well, I can buy that. I totally buy that. I would love to see a connection between the Kylo Ren's regalia and the history of the Knights of Ren or anything like that, and another kind of Sith planet and the Empire and wow, that.
Now this is just me getting a little hoping for some fan service here.
Well, but no, I think that's pretty solid though.
Well, I think that's solid. What I'm about to say is hoping for fan service. In Knights of the Old Republic, in the Legends continuity, Malachor was the site where Revan, who eventually became Darth Revan, essentially kind of nuked the Mandalorians, for lack of a better term, and really just kind of fractured the planet, like you kind of saw with Concord Dawn earlier this season.
Yeah.
And so, if they're really tying, first of all, so I think it's kind of interesting. We know there's a Scourge of Malachor that could be analogous to, that event. We don't know the exact specifics. But if they decide to say that, Revan was involved, you could definitely make a potential link between Revan and Kylo Ren, which would be, I want to say it makes more sense, because again, this is just me getting fan servicey, but a lot of people noted like a similarity between Revan's look and Kylo Ren's look, especially in like the helmets and mask.
And that's something I wouldn't actually mind. I really don't hope that they legit, canonize a lot of the old legends. But Knights of the Old Republic is something that they could canonize that I really wouldn't mind.
Right.
And even if they were to do really just a kind of more fan service link between Revan and, Kylo Ren, maybe Kylo Ren, the Knights of Ren, was inspired by, something of Knights of the Republic. I think that would actually be pretty cool. I wouldn't mind that at all.
Yeah, I agree. And so that's the thing. I don't expect them to actually definitively link Kylo Ren to Revan in any actual media. But if they confirm, and this is me going to be really hopeful here again, but it's possible that we could see confirmation of Revan being at Malachor. Because I'm assuming that's where we're going to be going in these next few episodes. That's that planet we saw where we're like, what's going down there? So if that's the route they go, then if we're saying Kylo Ren got his lightsaber from there, well, who's not to say that the Knights of Ren sprung up from there? And there's nothing to say that perhaps Revan's presence at Malachor inspired the Knights of Ren.
Which
so
I
again,
think
it's
could
leaps
be
of
a
logic.
possible. I mean, it could be, and where question has been, where does Snoke fit into all this? Snoke is obviously an older guy. Why was Snoke? I mean, where did he fit into the Empire when Sidious and Darth Vader supposedly had a monopoly on dark side users? So it's possible that at some place that inspired by events of the Old Republic, a dark side cult or group has been operating for thousands of years.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Who knows if it's been a cult operating for thousands of years. Maybe, Kylo Ren just kind of sprung it up after, say, being inspired by events he saw on Malachor. I mean, who knows?
Yeah.
Which, again, it's just me wildly speculating, being hopeful, probably unduly so. But still, there's a connection there, made even stronger now, and I'm really excited to actually get to Malachor and see how this all shakes out.
Yep. Well, I guess kind of wrapping things up with this episode here. So after Kanan gets knighted, the Inquisitor says, "I'll slow him down." So the Inquisitor and his other Temple Guard Force Ghost buddies...
The Grand Inquisitor, just to be clear.
Grand Inquisitor, I'm sorry. And his, Yoda-inspired Force visions delay the Inquisitors by making them believe that they're actually fighting them, and then they kind of just disappear into them, giving our rebels time to escape, so they start running out of the tunnels. But as they're just about to escape to freedom, Ahsoka stops, looks back, and sees a wonderful shot, which you're just about to see. And that's Yoda smiling a very kindly smile and lifting his hand into a wave.
Mm-hmm. Very, Last Crusade, Grail Knight right there.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I just want to mention this now, because you got me thinking of it. What are the odds that the Inquisitors use double-bladed lightsabers because of the Jedi Temple Guard's double-bladed lightsabers? What are the odds of, direct inspiration?
Not only that, but as we were talking, I was thinking, think about the Inquisitor's armor, especially the Grand Inquisitor's armor, and then look at the Temple Guard armor. And it is quite similar. The pauldrons, at least for the Grand Inquisitor, he had pauldrons like that. So I think that if that truly was the Grand Inquisitor who was the head of the Inquisitorius, and he was a Jedi Temple Guard, it does make sense that he would have kind of brought some of that over into the Inquisitorius.
Mm-hmm. And obviously the Inquisitorius' version is a very dark and corrupted version of the very white Jedi Temple Guard outfit. But that's a pretty cool connection that I'm now assuming was intentional. So hey, good on them. Yeah, that's nice attention to detail there.
Yeah.
And then I guess to wrap up the episode after Yoda's Last Crusade moment, Vader makes an actual physical appearance at the Jedi Temple, congratulates the Inquisitors, and boy oh boy, how fun was that?
There's something about Darth Vader in this show that is just so cool. I mean, it's just awesome. He doesn't even have to do anything. He's just there, and it's so awesome, which makes me so excited to see him in Rogue One. 'Cause, yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah. You know, there's a reason Darth Vader is just so beloved in the public eye. And Rebels, even when he's not doing much, can serve to remind you of that.
Mm-hmm. I gotta say, though, I mean, reading Tarkin and Lords of the Sith has completely changed my view of Darth Vader. Because, I mean, if you just... You know, I never read any of the old EU, so if you just watch the movies, Darth Vader's kind of, you know, he's kind of one-dimensional to an extent.
Certainly, I think, in A New Hope, and he doesn't really get any sort of dimension until the reveal.
So he's not, but once you read Tarkin and Lords of the Sith and, you know, some of the comics, and he just takes on so much more life. So seeing him in this show is just a complete joy. And then having all the, you know, the backstory of Tarkin and the comics and Lords of the Sith to think about when you're watching his character interact. It's just so fun.
Yeah, 100% agree.
Yeah. All right, well, I guess that's probably going to do it for this Rebels episode. And next, we're going to be talking about Darth Vader number 17.
More Vader, woohoo! I thought it was a pretty darn solid issue, but Shiloh, what did you think?
Yeah, solid is the word I would use to describe it. I don't think it was as good as the last one. I mean, there wasn't a lot going on. We got a little more insight into how Shu-Torun works and the Ordukes and stuff. A little hint of stuff to come. But I'd say it was overall solid. I mean, it wasn't a bad issue by any means. And definitely the issues of the Shu-Torun Wars so far have been outclassing most of the rest of the Darth Vader series.
I agree. I definitely think so far Shu-Torun has been its strongest arc. Save maybe Vader down. But yeah, again, you know, you get to see Vader, I would say perhaps even more than in the first issue, kicking some butt. You know, attacking this huge lava trawler you can see here.
I thought it was Lava Nautilus.
Not Lava Nautilus. I just said trawler because I didn't know the actual term.
Well, no, I'm saying it looked like the Nautilus.
No, I feel you. Yeah, you're definitely right. I mean, if you look at the inside, it doesn't necessarily look like what we've come to expect from Star Wars. You know, there's a lot of valves and stuff. It looks like an older vessel. That's probably deliberate, really. But yeah, Vader and the twins. I think this is the first time we've seen them working in tandem with Vader, right?
They've been in the same room killing the same people, but I think this is the first time it was in tandem.
Yeah. So I thought that was kind of fun, seeing them work together. I still don't love the twins.
I hate them.
Yeah, I know.
But
I think this is, like, probably their best appearance yet. One, because we actually get to see them being competent. You can tell they still don't care for Vader, and Vader still absolutely despises them.
I would say it's more contempt. I mean, he just has full-on disregard for them.
Yeah. Well, it's less despise of them and more like he despises what they stand for.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so I guess, you know, we'll get into their interactions a little more later. But yeah, after that, we get to see, again, Queen Trios. I continue to like her and Vader's interactions. You can definitely tell that he is giving her the illusion of respect as she had requested. So very nice to see her, I thought.
I'm gonna make a prediction that say that she does not die.
I hope she doesn't. I'd like to see her stick around.
Yeah, I think she'll stick around.
Yeah, you never know. So hopefully we'll see more of her. But then after, you know, the big action sequence, there's just a few quick 1 or 2 page interactions between various characters. And we see Dr. Shiloh talking with General Tag. And so there's a decent bit to unpack here, kind of opening with the implication that Shiloh might be partially responsible for Vader's survival after Mustafar.
Yeah. Don't care for it.
I don't love it. It's a reference that makes sense, I think. Like, with how they've set up Shiloh, it makes sense that he would be involved with Vader. Maybe he was even involved with Grievous. He's got, like, these multiple bodies things set up. So, there's no exact telling how long he's been around for.
Yeah, which just adds more science fiction to the Star Wars thing, especially with his multiple bodies, and there's just not really much about his character that I like. The whole premise of it just doesn't feel like Star Wars to me.
I see where you're coming from. It's certainly, I don't want to say like harder sci-fi, but it's definitely embracing the sci-fi more than the fantasy in Star Wars. But I think there's a place for it. I'm trying to think of stuff from the EU that was like this, and I'm sure it's out there, but I can't think of anything offhand. But, we'll see. Certainly I think it might give Vader pause if he actually did learn that Shiloh is, somewhat responsible for his survival. Not even that he would like Shiloh more, but more that he would just be a little more, self-loathing than usual.
Maybe, but I also think, so like from Lords of the Sith, when Vader has his meditation moment in the very beginning, at least I think it wasn't Tarkin, right? It was Lords of the Sith?
Probably. I'm not positive.
Okay. Yeah, well, and he talks about, how he first hated the suit, but now he came to embrace it as it was kind of the will of the Force for him to be in it. So I almost think if Shiloh were to tell him that, that he was responsible, Vader would just be like, no, you aren't responsible. You were simply the tool that the Force used to bring me to this place.
I can dig it. Yeah, I can see that happening. So who knows? But moving beyond that implication, you get Tag starting to kind of himself almost plot against Vader. Because, as you can see here, he acknowledges that Vader is amazing warrior. Capable of winning these great victories. He's not reckless, but he gambles. But, as he says, the victory can't be seen as Vader's, but rather one of the Empire. It can't just be this one man triumphing. It needs to be the system.
Yeah.
And, I can get where he's coming from, honestly. But, this kind of leads us to the end of the issue, where Shiloh is probably gone behind everyone's back and is conspiring with the Ordukes to give them Vader, in a move that will probably not work out all that well for Shiloh.
Yay! Oh, okay. Yeah, and Tag also says that Vader is capable of winning a battle, but not a war, which I think may be an underestimation of Vader, that this series is kind of turning on its head. Because Vader is showing himself quite competent at intrigue and at playing the larger game in this.
Very true.
Even if he hadn't before, he is, take Lords of the Sith, for example, Palpatine was always 4 steps ahead of him. But here, maybe, I think this series is showing a good shift of how Vader is maybe transforming less, he's losing some of his loyalty and his attack dog status, and, becoming more of a tactician in his own right.
Yeah, no, I certainly agree. Yeah, think, in the EU, I think it was definitely the case that they noted that Vader did not at all care for, court intrigue. And I still don't think he does. And I think I can't blame him. He's certainly presented in the movies as more of a blunt instrument. Save perhaps, Empire Strikes Back, he's able to, he is the main bad guy. He needs to come up with, his own plans. He outsources and it proves effective. So it's not that he's only capable as a warrior, but this is definitely really highlighting his side to be, a little more devious, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be fun to see that play out.
Yeah. Any word on how long this series is going to
It's
go?
ongoing. They've confirmed that there's an arc coming after the Shutoran War. I forget the name of the arc, but it's featuring the return of Thanoth, which is kind of fun.
Thanoth.
Mustache and monocle.
Oh, Thanoth. Okay.
Yeah.
I could get behind
actually
that.
Kind of fun, I think. So yeah, and it looked. I think Palpatine was on the cover for that, so he might be, getting a bit of a larger role in that arc, which could be fun.
Yeah.
So obviously, I think Vader's going to prove himself pretty well here on Shutoran. But we'll see how that all shakes out. But before we get to that, Vader has his own problems to deal with Dr. Aphra. And there's a little bit of movement on that front. In that a bounty hunter attempts to lie to Vader.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I don't remember seeing in Rebel Jail the bounty hunter escaping with Aphra.
Yeah.
Now, did I miss an issue, or is this just like a direct continuation of that?
Well, the bounty hunter never got Aphra.
Yeah, like, wasn't the last bit of the issue just him, like, bursting into the...
Well, this isn't the
facility?
same guy. This
What?
is a totally different guy, and that's not Aphra's corpse.
Yeah, I know that. But, like, in the Rebel Jail, the Star Wars Rebel Jail comic, didn't this guy, wasn't he leading a bunch of troops bursting into the
different
Rebel
helmet.
Jail? Oh, it is. So it's a different...
Yeah, no, not at all.
Oh, okay.
And yeah,
okay,
that'll
'cause
be
I thought this was the same guy,
no,
and I
not
was, like,
one
missing
bit.
an issue.
And if you look
Okay.
more at the upcoming solicitations for Rebel Jail, you'll see that I don't even think their main goal is Aphra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think they're on a totally different mission. But yeah, so this bounty hunter, B-Box, he tries to pull a fast one on Vader, just gives him a random corpse. That does not go well for B-Box.
Yeah. I loved BT's or 000. I get them mixed up. But the droid where he says, "Wow, Vader, I'm impressed. I didn't know your ability to commune with people included the dead." Yeah. It's like he's visibly impressed that Vader can do that, which I just thought was hilarious. It is a great part to put a little comic interlude.
Definitely. And one of the things we kind of skipped, between BT first coming to Vader, and then that scene with B-Box, Vader has a scene with one of the twins.
Yes.
I forget which one. I forget her name, honestly.
They're going to die soon anyway, so one of the twins is fine.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think they might not be long for this world. But I really like this scene. This is probably my favorite scene with either of the twins. Because it gets a little more at their motivation. Because she says there can be only one. And I don't know if that was always the case, or if that's a new development, that only one of the twins is intended to actually be around long term.
Yeah.
And so I kind of like that even with all the disdain Vader has for them, they still have tremendous respect for him and his abilities. And so her coming to him asking, like, hey, can you teach me? I think that would actually... the idea of Vader having an apprentice has been something that's played around with in the EU. And that's not exactly what this would be, but I think it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. I don't think I'd like that, just for the fact that, like, that's literally what every single other Sith Lord ever has done in Star Wars.
So
I kind of like the fact that Vader's kind of different, and that it adds more to him and Luke, Luke becoming his apprentice.
That's true, that's fair.
It adds more drama to that than just, yeah, Luke, I've had 3 that failed before you. Want to give it a shot? Yeah. But yeah, I thought it was a good moment, and it almost made me feel a little bit of pity for her. Like, that position the twins are in is not a very good position I wouldn't want anyone in.
Yeah, no. So we'll see. Like we speculated last time, I don't think the twins are long for this world. I think Shiloh's due to lose another body before too long. I'm curious to see how they finally completely get rid of Shiloh. Because Vader's already offed one of his bodies. We'll see.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think plot-wise, that's about everything in the issue we've covered.
Except I just found out something today. Shiloh is actually a Force ghost controlled by Yoda.
Ha! Good joke.
Yep.
Well, the idea of a consciousness switching bodies is not, new to the Star Wars universe with Shiloh. That goes all the way back to Palpatine in Dark Empire.
But that is Legends.
It is
now.
Legends
it has
now.
Been gone.
But I'm just saying it's not new. It has been distinctly inspired by the old EU, I would say, and there it was through use of the Force. So I'm curious to see how Shiloh is accomplishing it.
Yeah. Well, we'll see, I guess.
Other than that, I'm not sure there's too much else to talk about.
I think it's pretty much it here.
I just want to point out how much I enjoyed Vader's discussion with the twins on how they were planning to escape the ship by leaving swiftly. Vader really does not care about their well-being at all.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
I thought that was fun. Art was good, I thought. As it has been recently. I think I talked about it last time. I really like the cover for next issue. So pretty snazzy.
Yep, there's really nothing to complain about with the art with Vader. It's just, it's just consistently good week after week. We just stop even mentioning it. Yeah.
Pretty much. One of the things, moving on from Vader, but kind of keeping it on comics, one of the things that was announced this week but didn't get mentioned in the intro was the upcoming Han Solo miniseries.
Yes.
Which has actually a really solid creative team behind it, with Marjorie Liu writing, who's done a bunch of work. She's working right now on the really critically acclaimed Monstrous. And then the art is by Mark Brooks, who has been doing a bunch of covers for across a whole bunch of different series. He did basically the entire run of Vader Down covers. He had been doing work on Kanan, which is going to be wrapping up before he starts on Han Solo. He had done variant covers for Star Wars, Leia, and Darth Vader for Midtown Comics for issue 1. And this is going to be his first interior series for Star Wars. That has me pretty excited.
Yeah. Yeah, this will be interesting. Yeah. We're getting a Poe Dameron and a Han Solo next, right?
Yeah, those are the next two series starting up. Poe Dameron's ongoing, so I guess Poe Dameron will essentially start, I think, once Kanan wraps up. And then once Anakin and Obi-Wan wraps up, that's when we'll get Han Solo.
So it sounds like they're really liking this four series going at once. It probably allows them to do about once a week, having four of them.
That's what they
like
shoot
that,
for,
so.
yeah. Next week there is no comic, unfortunately. So we will not be covering that.
No Rebels
No
either,
Rebels either next week. Yeah, they're on break. So moving into what we will be talking about next week, we will definitely be covering the newly released on home video Star Wars Droid Tales.
And I am very excited to. I actually haven't. I've only seen one episode of it, and it was absolutely hilarious. So I cannot wait to watch it and then talk about it.
No, I feel you. I haven't seen any full episodes, but I've seen clips online, and they got a pretty good sense of humor over at Lego about themselves in the franchise. So that should be a lot of fun. We'll definitely do something else. We're not totally sure what yet. Maybe a discussion of the 2003 to 2005, maybe 4.
I thought it was 3.
Well, it started in 03, but it wasn't all out in the
okay.
1 year. I think it ran up until early 05, before Revenge of the Sith came out. But the Clone Wars micro series is what we're talking about. I never had a chance to say that. I love it. It's one of the pieces of Legends I basically love unconditionally for all its ridiculous over-the-topness. I have a bunch of...
Well, a lot of stuff from it, though, actually got turned into the Clone Wars
series.
Yeah,
it definitely... There's
really
certain moments where you can definitely tell are adapted or inspired by their presence in that micro-series. We'll definitely be talking about them, if we do talk about it at all, in relation to the new series. I'll probably talk about some of the collectibles that have been based off of it, because it's actually received a lot of love, both in high end and not.
Yeah, not. I like how you say that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many
but
of
yeah,
which
so
I own.
and we might even do something different or more or less, or we're not sure yet. So we will figure that out like 5 minutes before we do the podcast next week. So.
I mean, we should basically do that now anyway, but it'll be a little more obvious next week.
Yeah. Yep.
But otherwise, that's going to do it for us from Faster and More Intense. I'm George Costel. That was Shiloh Camrath.
Yeah, and if you want to send us an email, you can do that at fasterandmoreintense@gmail.com. You can find us on Twitter at FMI Podcasting. We're on Facebook at Facebook/FasterandMoreIntense. YouTube at Faster and More Intense Podcasting, and now on iTunes at Faster and More Intense Podcasting. Make sure to check us out there, leave us a review, rate the show. We'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, but don't give us like a star. Come on, don't be a jerk, please.
Yeah.
All right.
It's like a command, and then ask.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, and remember, the Force will be with you. Always.
Star Wars is the exclusive trademark of Lucasfilm Limited. All Star Wars names and sounds are the exclusive copyright of Lucasfilm or parent company. All content generated on this site is the exclusive intellectual property of Faster and More Intense.